All right, welcome to the call. Today we're in a series of 16 weeks that we're going to be learning some different things. And today what we're going to learn today are the basic steps of teaching an effective class. And before we even get started, I want to show you two oils that we're going to put on today, and they are bergamot and cilantro. We will always have two oils that we use every single time. The reason why we chose these is because bergamot is the oil of acceptance. And sometimes when we're teaching classes, did you know that the hardest part of teaching a class is we're so worried about what they're going to think about us. So we're going to put on the oil of acceptance today because we're not going to care what they think about us, right? We love ourselves no matter what. So oil of acceptance, just put 2 drops on there, rub it in, breathe it in, put it on the backs of your neck, and then cilantro. And cilantro is the oil of releasing control. Now, why would we put this one on? Because sometimes we think we have to do a class a certain way or it's not going to be right. So today we're going to learn how to teach a class that's effective, and it may not be exactly what you think it should be or how it should go. So we're going to release control of thinking there's one way to do a class, because there's all kinds of ways you can do a class. Okay? So, all right, got those on. We're all ready to go. Let's get started. Okay, so the first thing I want to make sure that we all understand when we're teaching class is that the success of your class heavily lies in what you think and what you do before the class ever begins. So let me explain this a little bit. When I first started teaching doTERRA about 5.5 years ago, when I first started teaching doTERRA classes, I felt very, very inadequate. Number one, I didn't know anything about essential oils at all. Like, I'd never used them, didn't have a clue how they worked. It just was the melaleuca I used on my son, and that was all that I knew. So I felt like I needed to get my book out, and here's my book, and I needed to read through it all, and I needed to know everything. I needed to make sure that if somebody asked me a question, I would know what to do. And that first class that I taught was really a disaster. And the reason is because I was more worried about what I was supposed to do and say, and my thoughts were totally messed up. In other words, my thoughts were all about, what are they going to think about me? Do they think I don't know what I'm doing? And I had so many negative thoughts going on in my head. And when I went to that first class, it wasn't good because I kept thinking, you don't know what you're doing, Diane. You have no clue about that oil. You're not even qualified to be standing in front of them. Not once in my mind did I ever say to myself, you can do this, Diane. You know, you've never taught a class before, but you're getting out of your comfort zone. They were all negative thoughts. So if there's anything that I can tell you about teaching a class, whether you are experienced at teaching a class or that is brand new, something to you that you've never done before, make sure that you're thinking positive thoughts, because whatever you're thinking is what you will present at that class. Okay, so let's look at this right here. You determine the outcome of your class. I have helped a lot of people, trained many, many people in this business, and the majority of the time they will come to me and say, well, my class didn't go very well because such and such didn't show up and this didn't happen. At the end of the class, they were talking a lot, or people kept interrupting, or there were babies there, or whatever might have happened. And the one thing I want to make sure that you are very well aware of is when you're teaching a class, you determine the outcome of that class. You're responsible for that. All of us need to understand that it wasn't whatever the outcome was on the outside, but that you can control that. You can control if people are talking, okay? You can control if people actually come to the class by the way that you make sure and talk to the host or the way that you invited, okay? So never again, I don't want to hear anybody else say, well, the class didn't go very well because of such and such. We're going to learn how we can make sure that this class is going to be really, really good because of what we did, right? Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what we said before. What are your thoughts about the class? So I'm going to tell you what some of my thoughts were when I first started. I know sometimes people who don't know me and they see me now might think, oh, Diane knows how to teach a class. She can do this, this, and this. And they have no idea what it took to get where I am. So when I first started teaching classes with doTERRA, I'll first tell you, we're a health and wellness company. And I wasn't very healthy when I first started. I was very overweight, and I didn't look healthy. I didn't feel healthy. I probably wasn't emotionally healthy or physically healthy. And here I was supposed to go stand in front of people and talk to them about health and wellness. And I felt very vulnerable, like I didn't have a place to be here. This is not what I should be doing. And it was really difficult, and it was hard for me to do. And my thought process was terrible. And so my first classes actually didn't go very well at all. But what I did was I realized, you know what, Diane, you're not going to do well at this if you don't actually start doing something and thinking differently. So here's what I thought. Sometimes on the way to those classes, my first classes, I was actually crying in the car. Okay, I'll be honest with you. I was crying in the car thinking, why are you doing this, Diane? They're going to think terrible things about you. You're not an example of what you're teaching, whatever that might be. And one day I thought, you know what? I think you need to just go in and think whatever it is that you want to happen at the end of this class. So these are some of the things that I thought. I'm excited about teaching this class, or I love to teach about essential oils. I want to help others learn about natural health. And those were all true. They were all very true. I do want to help other people learn about natural health. I did want to teach other people about essential oils. And I was excited about the class. So instead of me thinking over and over again about all these things I wasn't doing well, I then just started focusing on the things that I could do well. That made a big, big difference. So if there's those of you out there who are brand new to teaching classes, I really want you to start changing your brain, to start thinking, just turn it around and go, okay, I'm going to focus on what I am good at and what I can do. I love this little saying at the bottom. Once you replace negative thoughts with positive ones, you'll start having positive results. So we really do control a lot of what the outcome is, and most of it starts right in our thoughts. Okay, so let's talk about how do you dress when you go to a class. People ask me this all the time. Diane, what do you wear? I personally wear jeans and then a nice top. And the deal is you want to dress one notch above what everybody else is wearing. Okay? In other words, you're not going to wear a tuxedo because then you'll just be way out of the zone of what everybody else is wearing. And you don't want to dress down too much. So you can see that she has some cut-off jeans and a t-shirt. So one notch above what everybody else is wearing. And it depends on where you live. Everybody's different, you know, a little bit different culture. So just keep in mind, what are they wearing? Okay, one notch above that. All right, when you head to the class, it is very, very important that before you go, you are the best you possibly can be. Now, most people might get this and understand, of course, that's exactly what it means. There are sometimes you would not believe that people don't quite understand this. They just go as them, but you really want to be you at your best, okay? In other words, make sure you took a shower that day. Fix your hair, brush your teeth, okay? You might be laughing, going, Diane, why are you telling me that? It's real. There are some times where people don't do that. I've actually been to, and they weren't doTERRA, but they were other like party or events I've been to. Maybe some of you can think in your brain, yes, I did, where just the person who was presenting when she came was the biggest turnoff, and I couldn't listen to anything that she had to say or do because herself was the biggest turnoff, okay? So just make sure that you look presentable and you're the best you, because we all have wonderful things and traits about us, but sometimes we don't always present the best, so just make sure you're the best you. Make sure that you smell nice. I will never forget one class that I went to, and it wasn't anybody on our team, so I don't want anybody to go, was that me? No. And the lady, she used natural deodorant, and it wasn't working really well, if you get what I'm talking about. So her smell was not really the best smell, and it was really hard to even be there and be around her because it was so distracting. And on the other hand, I've been to classes where they had such a strong, heavy oil smell, and that was distracting as well, especially if you're going into a room of people who are new to oils. The heavy oil smell is not something that people typically like. So it goes both ways. So just make sure you smell good. That can be a huge distraction. Here's the other thing. Being the best you means you're not going there looking frazzled, walking in the room going, oh my gosh, I can't believe the traffic that I'm all the way over here, and this guy cut me off, and such as I walked the door was whatever it is, and you're walking in complaining. That's not going to be the best either. That's not the best you, okay? Or I've had people tell me she brought her child with her. And sometimes that's okay if it's a child that is actually helping you. But sometimes if it's a 2 or 3 year old, or maybe it was a baby and you brought them because you were breastfeeding them, that can also be a distraction. So just think, should I do this? Is it going to be a distraction? Is it going to be the best me? Then you need to decide, maybe I shouldn't do that. Maybe I should. So just look at it and say, is this going to be the best me? Your guests can be turned off before you ever begin your event, okay? So make sure that when you walk in that door, you're not turning them off before you ever even open your mouth. And I think this is really important for us to just kind of look and remember. Now, that doesn't mean that you need to like always be spot on and doing everything perfect. That's not it. Just be your best you. So I felt like when I was going to my first classes, even though I didn't feel good about myself and my health and where I was, I presented the best me I possibly could. And that was enough. And that worked. Okay, so let's talk about what items are you going to take to your class, right? People ask me this all the time. Diane, what do you take to your class? So I'll tell you what I take. It could be a little bit different than what some of your leaders or others take, but I'll just tell you what I take. For my product display, I have all my oils there, okay? And I have a little oil bag. I have mine right here. This is my oil bag. And so I just have this sitting there. I have all my oils in it, okay? I have that. And then I also have a diffuser, and then everything that comes in the Natural Solutions kit. In other words, I don't take everything. I think sometimes everything is just overkill, and then you don't really talk about it, and it can be overwhelming. So what I really want people to know is that the Natural Solutions kit really has everything to start off with, and that's really what I want them to see. So that's what my display is. Paperwork. So I take whatever RIT pad that I'm teaching from, the price sheet, the kit sheet, enrollment forms, 2 to 3 product catalogs. So if they ask questions about something I don't have there, then I can show it to them in the catalog. 6 Smart Essential books, or whatever you choose to teach from. Right now I'm teaching from these books. I don't know if you can see that or not. That's called The Essentials of the Earth. They are cheaper than the Modern Essentials book, and they just have a lot of information in here that I really like. So I've been using that. But again, you can use the Modern Essentials book is just fine. I also have membership overviews because I'm going to give that to them once they enroll. I'll set that up a time to meet with them. My prize drawing slips, and then pens. Okay, so those are my paperwork. And then for prizes, I always have a small bag of my 5 milliliter oils and a diffuser to give the host. So that's everything I take, and it all fits in a little carrying thing. And it's not overwhelming. I could just walk in the door with my bag and a little thing that I carry it in. So it's very simple, not overwhelming. Now, what if you're doing a one-on-one? Do you take the same stuff? I don't. This is what I do. If I'm just going to go meet somebody, I don't want my whole display and everything in it. I basically, again, take my oil bag, my Lifelong Vitality, and then my catalogs to show them the remainder of the products. If you're going to meet with somebody one-on-one and you have this whole huge display, sometimes it's not effective. It might just overwhelm them and like be overkill. So just keep in mind that. And then the paperwork, basically the same thing: RIT pad, price sheet, kit sheet, enrollment form, Modern Essentials book, and a membership overview. You don't need the prizes and all of that stuff when you're just doing a one-on-one. All right, another question I'm asked all the time is, Diane, what paperwork do you teach from? Okay, and I know many of you watching this are thinking, yes, I want to know, what does she teach from? Well, here's the deal. It doesn't really matter. They all teach the same thing, just in a different format, maybe a different picture, or maybe something a little bit different that just shows in a different order. It's really all the same thing. So whatever you decide that you want to teach from, that is what you're going to learn. That's what you're going to do, and it's absolutely fine. So here's just an idea of the different ones that you can teach from. One up here on top is from Share Success. That is not Share Success. This one is Share Success. This one is, oh my goodness, Edge Success, sorry. And this one was an older one that I found, and these are just things you can go online. They all teach basically the same thing, just in a different order. Find what works for you and use it. There really isn't a best one to use. The big thing here is that you are teaching directly from the tear pad. If you think that you need to stand up in front of a class and memorize everything and be the expert, and they have a piece of paper, but you are going to be the one that's going to show them exactly what to do, I would highly suggest you do not do that. We want this to be very duplicatable. I've taught over 400 classes, and I still teach from the same tear pad. I just came back this weekend from teaching 4 classes. Actually, it wasn't a weekend. It felt like a weekend, these past 2 days. And I taught from the tear pad. I could, I have it memorized. I could stand up and I could teach exactly that tear pad, what the picture is, what it says, what I'm going to pass around. I still have the tear pad. And that's because I really want people to watch me and think, wow, that's really easy. I could totally do what she does. Score. I want them to think that what I do is easy, because I want people to join me. I want them to share with me in helping other people learn about essential oil. So the easier it is and the more duplicatable it is, the better. So don't feel like you have to do everything perfectly. Get that tear pad and teach directly from it. All right. Do you have to know everything before you teach a class? I think we talked about this a little bit, but I love this quote. The teacher who's still learning will always have the most to teach. I'm always learning. I'm always learning new things. I'm always trying to improve things. I don't know everything. Most of the time I have to look in the book to try to figure out somebody's question they asked me, and that's okay. I want the book to be the expert. But just always be learning. Don't feel like you have to know everything, and you're going to be the best teacher when you're always learning. Oh, this one is huge. Feeling and emotion matter the most. When you are teaching a class and you are giving them information after information after information after information, you are not being effective. Okay, I want you to know that. So let me tell you a little story behind this. I don't know how many of you know, but the class that I went to first was taught by Emily Wright. I know, score, I got made. Emily Wright is awesome. If you don't know who she is, she's one of the owners of the company, one of the executives. There are 7 owners, and she's the only female. All the others are men. And I got to go to a class that she taught that night. And I'll be honest with you, I don't remember a thing that she told me that was facts about oils. I know she told me something, but what I did feel was her heart. I knew that this woman absolutely loved essential oils. I knew that she wanted us to be able to use essential oils. And I knew that she had a heart that was just so big, and I would follow that woman wherever she went. She had so much passion. And to this day, if you ask me, what did she teach? I don't know. I don't think she had a rip pad. I don't know what she had. I just know how she felt and how I felt when I left. So when you're teaching classes, make sure that you have that emotion and that they feel your passion. Let's read this, what it says here. What you say is not as important as how you make them feel. People generally remember 7 to 10% of what they hear. However, they'll remember 100% of how they felt. So keep that in mind. That is just huge when we're teaching our classes. It's not about the content. It's about how you're going to make them feel the emotion behind it. Okay, so are you guys ready to sing? Everyone ought to just break out in song. Old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O. That's what I want you to remember. The E-I-E-I-O is just an acronym of what we're going to learn about the 5 things you need to have at every single class. Now, I know you guys are all thinking in your head that song now. Old MacDonald had a farm. That's what I wanted. I wanted you to think, every time I go to a class, think of that song. Old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O, and we're going to show you what that stands for. So the first E stands for educate. Every time you teach a class, you need to make sure that you're educating them. Make sure you give them something that they didn't know before. And I really think if you're teaching from the RIP pad, they're not going to have any problem in this area. Educating them on essential oils, where they came from, where they're grown, what CPTG means. The majority of the time, they'll have no clue about any of that, and you're going to be giving them a full education on what essential oils are. Follow that tear pad, and you will be just fine, okay? So that's the E part. The first E part is educate. Okay, the second one is illustrate. I think this is huge. We were just talking about what Emily Wright did at my first class. She illustrated it with stories. I remember the story that she told me about her son, that he had hurt himself in, I think it was playing football, and that he came to her and said, Mom, I need an essential oil, and how it worked so well for him. I don't even remember what it was. I just remember she illustrated that story with her son and that it worked really well. Make sure that you're adding in stories. Okay? They'll remember that. One of the stories that I tell at my class is how my son was suffering with some ear discomfort, and he was just a baby. And I had taken him to the doctor over and over again, got a prescription, got a higher dose. He kept coming back because it wasn't going away. And the story that I tell that people remember all the time is the night that he woke up and he was screaming with those ear discomfort and was pulling at his ears, and my sister had given me some Melaleuca oil. And I put that oil on his ear. I remember sitting in that rocking chair, and I remember just holding that little baby. And within 2 minutes, after giving him that oil, he totally calmed down. 10 minutes after that, he was asleep. That story has had many people come up to me and tell me, I remember that story about your son. And they don't remember a lot of the information that I taught that night, but they know that story. So make sure that you are adding in stories. And that's not the only story I tell. Now, you can't do overkill on stories, because if you tell too many stories, then your class lasts too long. So pick your favorite ones. Pick the ones that are going to touch them, that are going to really, their heart is going to be moved by that story. Okay, so make sure that you're telling stories and something that they can remember it by. Very, very important. So that's the I. Okay, so we're at E, I. Now let's go to the next E. That's going to be entertain. Yay! So if you don't hold their attention by making it fun, they won't pay attention to your content. So let me tell you some things that I do that make it fun. I have a lot of laughter in my classes, and we're really interacting. We talk amongst each other, and I really hold the audience. If they start getting off, I kind of bring them back in, not by reprimanding them, but just by telling something funny, and then people are like, oh, they're laughing and they missed out. They immediately turn in. But here's one of the stories that I tell. Some of you have been in my classes, I'm sure have heard this 100 times, but I have a woman who at my class was hilarious at a response that she gave me. So what I do is I hold up the oil, digestion, and I will tell them that this is an oil that's used for all digestive issues. And I'm going to pass this around the room. I want you all to get a whiff of it and tell me what you think that smell is. And so I pass around that oil, and they kind of are smelling and get a little whiff. I'm like, smells like black licorice. You guys think so? Yes. And I'm like, do you know what the smell is that causes that smell? Like, what's in it? Well, what's in it is anise, okay? So anise is what gives it that smell. Well, I had a woman answer that question, and she said, oh, Diane, I know what it is. I know what it is. It's called anus. But obviously it's not pronounced anus, it's pronounced anise. But that brought a huge uproar in the class of, wow, oh my gosh, that she just said that word. Okay, and then she said to me, oh, so it's not for that? I'm like, well, you don't pronounce it that way. And she goes, so it is for that. I'm like, no, you really don't put it there. And she's like, well, that explains why it hurts so bad. I'm like, oh my gosh. She said that she put it there and it burnt. Like, okay, so I want all of you to know right now, if you're going to use this oil, number one, don't put it there. And number two, it goes on your stomach. That's where you're going to put it. So when I tell that story of what that lady said, I get everybody's attention, and they remember that digestion goes on your stomach and not anywhere else. Actually, you can put it up here as well, but you're not going to put it down there. Right? Okay. And that it's pronounced anise, not anus. So that's part of the entertaining that I kind of tell at the story. Kind of makes me look real. I get down on their level, and I kind of help them kind of laugh and make it a little bit light. There's other stories that I tell as well. You're welcome to use mine if you'd like to. But just make sure that you're entertaining them and that the class is fun and very light. Okay? You're keeping their attention. All right, let's go to the next I. Okay, that's inspire. Passion always has a vital part to play in sharing the message. If they're not feeling your passion and they're not feeling inspired by what you're teaching, you're missing the boat. So I'm going to tell you a little story of when I went to somebody's class. I have people tell me sometimes, Diane, can you watch my class and just kind of critique me a little bit? So I did this with somebody. They came to Arizona. They're not from my area. They came, they visited here, and I went down and I watched the class, and she did everything right. She taught straight from that tear pad. She knew the information. She had humor in there. People were engaged. However, at the end of the class, I wasn't feeling like, I felt like she truly was 100% and believed in everything that she taught. Although I know that she did, it wasn't coming across in what she was teaching. In other words, she wasn't somebody that I would say afterwards, I want to work with her. Wow, I think I need essential oils now because I saw that passion that she has. She was lacking the passion, even though she had everything else. So how do you find that passion? I think that's found when you tell your own personal story about why you use essential oils and why you're there and teaching essential oils to these people at the class. Make sure and share that. I think that passion, when people see your heart and you're open to that, they really want to follow you. They want to know, I want to go where she's going. I don't know what she's doing, but I want to take that and I want to run with it. So make sure they feel that passion, they feel that inspiration that you bring to the class. Okay, and the last O stands for outcome. So what specific actions are you calling them to do? What do you want to happen from them attending this class? This is huge, okay? So let me talk about this a little bit. I think a big mistake that a lot of people do in their teaching classes is they present everything great, and they could even have the passion. They could have everything they have, but then at the end of the class, they're like, okay, well, we're all done. So if everybody has a question, just come up to me and I'm happy to help you. And then they start gathering their products and packing up. And the people are kind of sitting there going, well, so what do we do now? Like, we learned about essential oils. It is our job to make sure that we tell them, what do we want to happen now from this class? So before the class ever starts, you in your mind need to think, what outcome do I want to have from this class? So I'll tell you what the outcome is that I want at every single one of my classes. Number one is I want these people to learn and know about essential oils. It's my job to teach them. So the outcome is that I'm going to help these people learn more about essential oils that they didn't know before. I want to help them understand how it can help them with their health care, how to help them with their families. And I also want them to be able to get these oils in their home. I want them to be able to use them and to be able to see how it can truly touch their lives. That's the outcome I want. So at the end of the class, this is what I say. I'm so happy that you all came to this class. Number one, I want to make sure that you know it is my job to help you and to teach you about essential oils, and I hope that you learned something today. Number two, I want to make sure that you know how you can get these essential oils in your home. And the best way is, and I would tell them about the wholesale account, how to sign up, what you can do, how to get on Loyalty Rewards program, how to get these oils at the cheapest price. And if you don't say that confidently, they're going to feel like, is that really what she wants me to do? If you apologize at any time and say, I know these are a little expensive, but, or you don't have to be in the Loyalty Rewards program, but be very confident in what you're saying because you truly care about them. You want this outcome to be something that's in their favor. So make sure that you're very clear on what the outcome is that you want and that you specify that to them. Make sure they know and are clear. This is what we're going to do next, okay? All right, so tips of what to do before the class. All of us have something that's going on in our life. We all have a little bit of stress. We may have family issues. We may have, you can't pay the bill for your electricity that day. I mean, those stresses are real. I get that. Leave them at the door. Okay, you do not want to take that into the class because the people at the class were able to feel that stress from you. So here's what I do. On the days when it was just a bad day for me, I would find some place at the front of that door or that class or wherever it might be, say a bush. I'll say I'm going to leave everything right here at that bush and I'm going to pick it up on my way out. That way I can focus 100% on my mission, what I'm doing, what I'm teaching at the class, but still not leave my cares and worries, like just put them away. I'm going to pick them up when I come back out. You'll be so much more effective at the class when you're able to do that. If the class is at your house, pick somewhere, a pillow on the couch. I'm going to leave all my worries on that pillow. As soon as everybody leaves, I'll take it back up. Whatever that might be for you, that may sound a little crazy, but it works so well because you need to be the best you that you can. And when you have those on your brain, you're not going to be the best you can. Okay, this is so important. Get to know your audience before the class ever starts. Engage with them. Know who they are. So when they're coming in, make sure you greet them and say, hey, what's your name? Where are you from? And how do you know Melissa? And, you know, oh, good. How many children do you have? Or whatever it might be. I might ask them, so have you ever been to a class before? Would you know about essential oils? And before that class ever starts, I have a feel of who's sitting in my class, and I can cater that class to them. For instance, I just did a class recently, and there was a lady who beforehand told me she had grandkids and that she had a lot of pain in her hands from arthritis. So what am I going to do differently at that class? I'm going to make sure that I cater the information I talk to that something that fits her, right? So if I talk about the deep blue, I may say something like, this is something that you can put directly right on your fingers to help with any pain that you might have in your fingers. If I have a class of mothers who are all stay at home and they take care of their children, they have small children at home, I'm going to cater that class to children, how to use essential oils for small children when they're sick, when they're going to school, when they come home, when they're doing homework, right? So you need to know your audience before the class starts, and that all happens right when they walk into the room. It also builds trust with you. So if you're sitting there and the people are coming to the class and you just kind of sit there and don't really engage with them at all, they automatically are going to feel in their head, okay, I don't know her. They're not going to build that trust and rapport with you. So make sure you engage with your audience way before the class ever starts, okay? Here's another huge one, and we talked about this a little bit. Worry less about yourself and more about them. Most of the time when a class fails, it's because we were worried so much more about what we were going to say, how we were going to say it, what were they going to think when they came and saw us. What were they going to do that you didn't know, you couldn't answer the question very well. If we're focused on them, how can I help them? What are their issues? Your class will go so much smoother. You will be calm. You won't feel like, oh my gosh, I'm not doing a good job. Worry about them and how you can help them, okay? Think of that before you ever start the class. I'm going to worry about them. How can I help the people at this class? Okay, tips during the class. check your language. I'm not talking about foul language, okay? Well, you don't want that at the class either, but are you speaking above their heads? Are you saying something that maybe they don't even understand? Are you saying LRP, or are you saying the back office? They don't know what all that stuff means. So make sure that you're talking in a language that they understand, okay? There's no tarot language and lingo that we use that people in normal class wouldn't know. And if you're saying titles or things like MLM phrases, they don't understand that either, okay? Make sure that you don't say upline, downline. My upline came and talked to me, and she helped me teach a class, and my downline was coming. Those phrases they don't understand, so make sure you're just saying things that they truly would understand, okay? Eliminate any distractions during the class. So if you say things like, great thing to do, and this is a hard one because I had to do this, to video yourself, okay? You probably don't even know some things that you're doing. I know I used to touch my hair a lot, and I still do sometimes. I'll pull it away. That's a distraction. People will look at you and go, she keeps touching her hair, or she keeps saying, or she keeps doing this, or, yeah. It was at a Pampered Chef party that I did a long, long time ago that I had no idea what I was doing until somebody at the end of the class said this to me. I'll tell you what I did. I would hold up a food chopper or whatever it is that I was selling at the time, and I would say, hello, who doesn't need this? Or hello, why would you not want to use a knife? Or hello, if you're going to use this, make sure you're using the cutting board. And I said that hello over and over and over again. And a lady at the end of the class, she said, is that like your favorite word to use or something? And I said, what do you mean? She goes, hello. You said it probably 50 times. I had no idea. I'm so glad she said that to me, because can you imagine what a distraction that would be? And I'm sure I still have a few that I do. If you're watching me going, Diane, you do that. Hopefully it's a little bit better, but just be aware of what those distractions are. No repetitive gestures. Don't pace back and forth if you're standing, okay? Just make sure you're aware of all of those things. How about self-sabotage? Sometimes we cause the biggest problem ourselves by what we say, okay? Do not explain why you're not prepared. Don't explain why this is my first class. I really don't know very much, and apologize. People really don't want to listen to you if you start out by saying, sorry, everyone, this is my first class, and I really don't know what I'm talking about. And if you ask me a question, I probably won't know the answer. Don't say that. You're the professional as far as they know, okay? So don't self-sabotage yourself before you even begin. Okay, tips after the class. Okay, do not expect people to come to you. I went to a class one time, and this is what they did. Again, this wasn't even people on our team. This was somebody else's team, happened to be there. This is what she did. At the end of the class, she sat down in her chair, and she crossed her legs, and she said, I finished the class. I'm all done. If anybody would like some help, please come to me, and I will help you. Nobody came to her. Number one, she's not their friend, right? She's the one who was sitting at the class that was just presented the class. They're not likely to come to you. It is your job to go around the class and talk to each person. And this is what I say at every single class. I say, we are done teaching the class. It was so great to get to know you. We got to talk about essential oils. It is my job to help you. So I want to make sure that every single one of you I get to talk to before you leave the class. I will be coming around and I will help you fill out your form. I'll answer any questions that you have. Please don't leave before you talk to me. So number one, they have an expectation that I'm going to help them. I'm going to answer their questions. Number two, an expectation that, oh, I need to be filling out this form. They know what they're supposed to be doing, and I'm going to be the one helping them. Many times I'll actually have 3 or 4 that are sitting together, and they might be friends, and I will come up to them and say, hey, you guys, so what did you think about the class? What was your favorite part? Okay, I'll ask them those questions, and then I will talk to them actually in a group, and I'll say, okay, you guys need to fill this out. This might be good. So it may not be one-on-one. It may be several people that I'm talking to. Here's another tip. Start cleaning up after everyone has been helped. If you start cleaning up and they're still filling out their forms, they feel a little bit of pressure like, oh, she's cleaning up, I need to hurry. You don't want them to hurry. You want them to take their time. And that's the time when most people will just get their paperwork and say, I'll fill this out later. I'll fill it out at home. And they never do. So don't start cleaning up. Don't do anything until that class is completely done and everybody's been helped. Your job is to help them. Once they've all been helped, then you can maybe start putting oils away, okay? The last one is smile. Sometimes we don't smile. Sometimes we're just so a little bit stressed. We're trying to help people that we forget to smile. And I know that I've been to classes before where at the end of the class, they feel like there wasn't a lot of people there and nobody enrolled and they're kind of a little bit grumpy, and you can see that on their face. Smile. No matter what happens, you were there to teach a class about essential oils. You did great. No matter what happens, you did great. Smile and be happy, okay? All right. Here's something really, really important. Your mind can only absorb no more than the seat can endure. So if you're teaching a class that's going on and on and on, because you have to tell them about every single product, they need to know about every oil, and this is my favorite story, you are doing yourself a huge disservice. Their seat is going to get really tired, they're going to get exhausted, and there's this curve that happens. So they're excited, like, wow, these are really, really cool, and then their behind gets tired and it starts going like this. Right up here is when you need to finish, and you can tell by the atmosphere in the room, okay? When people start shifting in their chair, when people start talking to their neighbor, or then they weren't looking at the book before and now they are, that means it is time for you to wrap up wherever you are. And for me, this typically is at about 45 minutes in, okay? So when your class starts, you have 45 minutes to get as much information in, and you need to get the most important one in before their behind gets numb and they get tired, okay? 45 minutes. Every once in a while, if I can tell they're still engaged, we'll go up to an hour, but 45 minutes is about the right time, okay? So we've talked about a lot of information today. Something that everybody wants to know is, what are the tricks to ensure you get enrollments at your class, right? Well, I want you to stay tuned on that, because that is a whole entire webinar in itself. So next week, we're going to have basic steps to closing at the class. And I want you all to make sure and come to that, because there's so many different things you can do at the close to make sure that you actually help people the right way and the right words to say and things to do to make sure that you're actually getting enrollments at your class. So come next week, same time, same place. Thank you, everybody, for being on this call. I'm going to actually see if there was any questions that you might have had. So if anybody has any questions, go ahead and put them on there, and I will check the chat here. I'm here. Okay, if you have any questions, go ahead and put them on the chat, and I will answer them for you. If there are no questions, then we will be officially done for today.
Hey, Diane.
Yes.
This is Sarah.
Oh, hi, Sarah.
Hey, so after a class, when you've done all of your prize drawing and all that kind of stuff, and it's time to go visit with each person, how exactly would you go about doing that?
So basically, I just stand at the end of the class and I will say, okay, we're done. And that this is after I've done the prize drawing, after I've done all of that. I've already told them how to enroll, what kits you can get. I just stand up and say, everybody, I want you to know that I am here and I'm going to be helping you. And I just start from the left. Or sometimes if somebody booked a class, I will start with that one. I would just go over there to them. I will kind of like just sit right next to them and say, okay, so what did you like best about the class? And that's all that I do. Just go right over to them.
Your first question, what did you like best?
What did you like best about the class? Yes. So I don't say, so did you like the class? Because then that means they could answer no. I only want a positive response. So what did you like best about the class? And that's part of what we're going to talk about next week when we talk about closing.
Awesome.
Okay, so Melissa is asking us, how long before the class do you arrive? That's a great question. I typically arrive about 30 minutes before the class starts. So the class starts at 7, typically they're about 6:30. And that's because I want to be completely set up, and I want to be able to talk to the host if it's a host that I don't know, and get to know her a little bit, and then greet everybody as they're coming in. So typically about 30 minutes is about how much time I give before the class starts. Great questions, thank you. Okay, anything else that we would like to know? Okay, is it a good idea to follow up with people who are interested? Absolutely. You know, that prize drawing slip, and again, we will talk about this next week, but the prize drawing slip is a huge part of closing at the class and being able to help people and what to write and what to say, okay? Okay, so the question is before people who are not. Is it a good idea to follow up with people who are interested before people who are not? Okay, I get what she's saying now. So she wants to know who to start with at the end of the class, who to start talking to. Absolutely talk with the people who are interested first, okay? And those who booked a class are more likely to be interested in enrolling. Those who asked a lot of questions, those who seemed really engaged, those who are like on the edge of their seats, those who like every time they pass around the oil, you could see they were putting them on them or they were sniffing them. Those are the people I always start with first, because they will start a chain reaction for the people around them. So you go to them and the people around them go, oh, she's asking a question. What is she saying? Because they're waiting to see, is she interested in oils? Oh, maybe these are cool. Maybe I should get these. People really want to know what other people think about the oils. Okay. So she says, I was actually thinking about bringing my laptop with me to the class for enrollments. Have you ever done that? I have not done that. And the main reason is because when somebody enrolls, I'm not quite sure where I'm going to place them at the time. So I need to take them home and then decide what's the best place that this person needs to be placed. At the class, if they're enrolled right there, number one, it takes a lot of time, and that takes time away from helping somebody else. Being on that computer, and then I don't know where to place them, so it may take too much time away from going, I'm going to place them here. And I never place them on my front line, ever place them, because then you have 14 days to move them, but sometimes you could forget, and then you may want to move them, and you kind of lost a move on that. So hopefully that answers your question there, Melissa. Any other questions about the class and how to teach a class? Okay, looks like we're good. Thank you all for being on the call, and we will talk to you next week. See ya.